Hello and welcome to this Philbert Flies review of the Basel Airport add-on for Microsoft Flight Simulator by FSDreamTeam. After our little jaunt in the Caribbean, normal service has been resumed and we're starting once again with an approach in the A320 NEO, this time to runway 15 at Basel. And the reason I start with an approach is so that you can A, have a look at the surrounding area, and B, get a feel for the performance on my system. So I'm running an 8700K processor with 32GB of RAM and a 1080 Ti graphics card. Most of my settings are on Ultra. I have tweaked them a little bit since the latest patch, but generally that's what I'm running. So I'll let you finish watching the approach and the landing, and I will speak to you again at a gate when we'll have a good look around this airport in different weather and lighting conditions, and I'll finish by giving you my all-important opinion. Speak to you shortly.
Retard. Try it.
So here we are, parked up at gate 24 at Basel, and as you can see the jetway is just moving across now to connect to our aircraft. Let's see how well it does. Oh, very, very good. If you look very, very closely, then you can see it going through the fuselage and into the plane, but at least it matches up and passengers can walk off. Now you'll notice that we have transparent glass on these jetways, so they're obviously custom models, which is nice to see. And you can go inside them should you wish to. But enough of that, let's take a look at the terminal building. Well, you'll notice we've got transparent glass and a modelled interior. If we go inside, you'll see seating, quite a high resolution carpet texture. It's got a sort of a brutalist feel to it, this terminal, hasn't it? Quite concrete, but yeah, very nicely modelled. And the textures on the outside don't disappoint either. They're nice and crisp and high resolution. And the modelling of this canopy is spot on. So you'll notice that the main terminal at Basel is a sort of Y-shaped structure with gates along both sides of this central pier and also off the arms of the Y. Got a nice exterior seating area here, a little terrace, and we've got more transparent glass here. Doesn't bear too close an inspection. You'll notice that the shop fronts are pressed up right against the glass, but clearly this is supposed to be seen from afar rather than right up close as we're doing now. In spite of this, there is a limited amount of interior modelling. Again, clearly designed to be viewed from the outside. But textured just well enough to bear a look from the inside as well, so that's nice. The front of the airport building is very nicely modelled as well, and we've got a basic ramp that's been put together here to allow entrance and exit from the terminal. Nothing particularly fancy, but it's certainly more than enough for me. As I've said before, I don't really bother coming outside the front of airports except when I'm doing these review videos. We've got cars in the car park, and these nice crisp roadway textures up here give way to the default photo scenery textures down below. But overall, not a bad job. You'll notice the tower is emblazoned with an up-to-date advertisement for the IBA Basel 2020, which is nice to see, right up to the minute. And while we're over here, you'll notice that the roof textures are pretty nice as well, nice and sharp. So you'll enjoy flying over and above this airport as well as into it onto the runway. Let's take a look at the ground textures now. These are very nice indeed. Crisp and sharp, nice high-resolution textures, and a few scuffs and patches in the concrete and tyre marks, which is always nice to see, adds to the atmosphere. The taxiway texturing is very nicely done as well, as we've come to expect from FSDreamTeam. And they've done a great job on the grass. We've got nice crisp edges here, and different colours and thicknesses of grass as well. Over here we've got 2 spots for general aviation parking. GAGBA is a sort of GA cooperative that promotes general aviation here at Basel. And you can even see the taxiway lines in the grass to take you out onto the main taxiway. So that's a really nice touch. However, there is a little bit of an issue with this texture here. First of all, it's very, very flat and plain. And we've also got what appears to be a sort of semi-translucent section where it goes over onto the grass. So that's not so good. If you're looking to fly GA around here, that may be a little bit disappointing for you. But for me, it's a small point in an otherwise beautifully textured ground. You'll no doubt have noticed when we came into land that the runway is beautifully undulating. They've done a great job of modelling that. And there's a nice level of rubber marking over the touchdown zone as well. Here we have the other runway, 826, which is nicely textured. Although, having compared this with the satellite imagery, I must say these rubber marks over here are overdone and not quite in the right place. They don't seem to really be at either touchdown zone. So I don't quite know how they've ended up there, but a very, very minor point. Here we have one of 2 maintenance areas at the airport. And these hangars are also beautifully modelled and textured. They haven't scrimped on the less used areas of the airport, which is nice to see. Although we do have this rather featureless, flat asphalt texture used on the taxiways around it. This over here is the cargo terminal, which again is very nicely done with the appropriate amount of clutter around it. Very nice. And we have the second maintenance apron over here. Also very nicely done indeed. The night lighting at this airport is really, really lovely. I really like the lit up signs. I like the glow that's cast on the apron from these downlighters. Very little to complain about, I must say. Terminal has a nice glow from the interior. And if you go in, you can see that it's lit up well from the inside too. And they haven't missed out the landside areas either. Equally good night lighting out the front here, and another spectacular sign. Brilliant job. We've got very nicely done taxiway centerline and edge lighting as well. There's no lighting on the taxi lines on the apron. I haven't found any photos to compare this to, but I'm sure that's accurate. I trust them implicitly. And the main runway lighting is lovely as well. Very nicely done. And no surprises here, Basel looks fantastic in the rain. Excellent reflections, excellent puddles. In fact, I would really recommend flying here in bad weather. For some reason, this airport just suits a wet ground. The snow effects are pretty impressive as well. Got a nice thick carpet of snow over the apron area. And we've even got snow gathering on the taxiway lines, or the stand centre lines, which is rare. I don't think I've seen that before. Often they stick out like a sore thumb, so that's really nice to see. If we move over to the taxiways, if we can find them, You'll see that these two have a nice thick covering, as does the grass, of course. And we don't have any nasty harsh edges between the grass textures and the taxiway edges, so that's really good to see as well. Moving over to the runway, you'll notice that this is completely blanketed in snow, with the exception of the tyre marks. Now, I'm pretty certain that's an SDK limitation. I think it's probably just not possible to cover these in snow at present, or I'm sure they would have done. And we've also got certain patches here and there which have no snow on them whatsoever, and we've seen quite a lot of that. It does spoil the immersion, as to these harsh lines where the snow ends and the clear surface begins. I'm speculating wildly here, but I think this is something to do with surface materials. You can see underneath here that we've got what I think are concrete blocks, and here we have that rather plain asphalt surface that I was talking about earlier. So it seems that there are just some materials that won't get a covering of snow, and that's a shame, but I'm sure it's something that will be improved upon in the future. So it's the moment you've all been waiting for. It's time for my all-important opinion. What do I think of this scenery? Well, I really like it. I think the modelling and texturing of the buildings are superb. I think most of the ground texturing is fantastic. I didn't particularly like that flat asphalt texture we looked at earlier, and there was the slight issue with that texture bleeding into the grass, that sort of translucent look near those GA stands. And the final thing I found to moan about was the tyre marks on the cross runway, 826. So really, very, very, very minor things. The snow's great, the night lighting's great. Overall, it's a very atmospheric airport, and I heartily recommend it. I hope you found this review useful. If you have, please do click the thumbs up button down below, and I would welcome a subscription to my channel if you'd like to see more of this sort of thing. Thank you very much for joining me, and I hope to see you again soon on Philbert Flies. Take care. Bye-bye.